up with the world? It's your boy CBJ. You are tuned in to the champs, and this is the host, CBJ, and that is my co-host.
Coach Rudy, and this is episode 3. If you hear that noise in the background, no, it's not our stomachs. It's not Kyle Matthews. It's thunder.
Yeah, so ignore it. You don't hear any of it.
Yeah, and so before we start talking,
Let your boys have it, cause there go the bell. Assuming my opponent, and I promise you I had this battle over in the moment. I'm a heavyweight, boy.
That's
You's a
hilarious.
featherweight, boy. I'm a heavyweight, boy. You's a featherweight, boy.
You know, we could make that this theme song, but we're not.
yeah, so I wanted to play that because we're going to get right into it. We're going to get UFC talking, and this is where I'm going to shut up because I didn't watch the fight, and UFC just pisses me off.
All right. So last night there was a pretty big welterweight fight. Last night being Saturday, what's the day? Yeah, the 20th. Yeah. There's a pretty big fight in the UFC. Welterweight champion was, I guess you would say his name, Kamaru Useman, fought Edwards, and he got knocked out. Plain and simple, that's what happened. And I'm really just kind of touching on it because I only caught the highlights of the fight, but the knockout kick seemed almost like, I don't know how many people watch fights, but when you see them and you see how someone gets knocked out, it looks like so animated, it's almost unreal. And so when it's surprising, one, Useman has had 5 successful defense of his welterweight championship. So for him to get knocked out by Edwards, that is Leon Edwards, sorry. That's what makes it so shocking in that sense. Going in, or their records 20-2 and 20-3, so it's pretty evenly matched as far as for that goes. But this kick in particular, what I noticed when I seen it, and I know that why he got knocked out, it was a shin to his chin basically, and that's why he got knocked out. But again, when he fell down, it was so animated. His eyes were all open, and I only knew about it because I seen the meme. Then someone at work showed me the fight itself, and it was just like I said, when I seen him go down, I was like, man, that almost looks like, did he get knocked out or did he take the dive personally?
Nah, his eyes.
No, he legitimately was knocked, but it just like
his eyes were open and there was nothing on behind him.
Right. Definitely. But again, if you watch the fight and you see like I've seen knockouts in boxing and whatnot where when they go down, maybe they're still fighting on the ground, but they're actually not swinging at anybody. You can just kind of see their body twitching, or you just see them kind of do some weird curl up and fall. The only thing I can tell you about those is, they were in real pain. Like their body was like legitimately in real pain, and it went into shock. That kick. One, personally, I would never want to kick anybody and hit them with my shin because I don't like stubbing my fucking shin on anything, let alone like a kick that I'm throwing is going to be my foot planted into someone's chest or stomach. It's not going to be actually to hit with my shin, or it's either my knee or my foot is going to be the point of contact.
And people beware. If I'm fighting you, I'm a kick either in your nuts, the inside of your leg, the inside of your thigh,
Okay.
or your knee. I'm not opposed to breaking it from the front or just sweeping it from the back. Either way, that's all I'm kicking.
Right.
I ain't trying to kick you any higher. If I kick your face, it's because you're on the ground, and I'm stomping you.
I might hit you in the face with the heel, but I typically don't throw those because I don't want to rip my pants. But nonetheless, my point to this in general is, again, that knockout, if you're questioning on if it was legit, it was. You can see it in his eyes that he was legitimately knocked out. And I'm imagining probably what it was the force on his lower, like on his chin, basically. It took so much of it from that kick that he did. But it was a solid knockout. It was kind of crazy to see the replay of it.
Yeah, I think. Look, I know. I said I wasn't going to talk on it, but I will say I think what I liked was that he did try to block it.
Yeah.
And the kick was so solid that he followed through
Right.
and went through the block.
That's legitimately what it is. Like someone does throw a kick, the weight that comes behind it, if it's thrown properly, will at very least throw you off balance. But if it hits you in the head, it's gonna fucking hurt. Even whether it's in that moment or later on, you're like, man, my neck fucking hurts because you took a fucking kick to the face. Yeah, it's gonna hurt.
Yeah, you know, so much of fighting is moving at a small increment.
Right.
Moving your head a little bit to the right, a little bit to the left.
Right.
When punches or kicks are coming.
Right.
If you over exaggerate, and that's what I think novice fighters do, they'll try to move their whole body out the way. Then they don't see the next swing coming, the next punch coming. They don't see the next hit. But if you're barely moving, it does a world of difference in saving you from the knockout.
Right.
Because your eyes are focused on your target, and you're just barely moving to avoid the worst of the contact.
Right.
But you have to be able to absorb the hits as well.
Yeah.
If you can't absorb the hits, you're going to find yourself in this position.
Yeah.
Now, this was just a really good kick, though.
Yeah.
Like, so.
I mean, and that's what me and you have said about UFC and previously. Like, the thing about it is, like, your record, like the 20-3, even if it was 20-10, because of how the UFC goes, it's not just getting knocked out like in boxing. Someone could get you in wrist locks, arm locks, whatever kind of lock they want to get you in, and get tapped out, and you could have been beating their ass for fucking 5 rounds and then just got an ankle lock. I watched fucking Brock Lesnar lose a fight in that same fashion. So that's what makes it so difficult, but that's also what kind of makes it exciting. The unfortunate part to me is why I don't watch UFC as often is a lot of times it just turns into wrestling, and I don't really care for it. I actually want to see them utilized more than just like wrestling around.
Yeah, you want to see them utilize their martial arts skills.
Yeah.
And that's why I don't watch it, because it annoys the hell out of me. Like, these guys are so much better than what they produce, and I get it. There's rules. I get it that people don't have the stomach for someone dying, whatever. But I understand. It's not for me.
The other thing to it, though, it's kind of crazy, is the fact that even the top of the top fighters don't make very much money. Like, they make
not compared to other sports, and
they could make $1 million or even $5 million. But when you're looking at like,
but you look at a Floyd making hundreds of millions off of one fight,
right? Exactly,
and then a low level guy who gets a major fight still making 10, 12 million.
A up and coming boxer that only gets on like PBS. So this is not a pay-per-view fight. CBS, whatever you want to call it, like whatever regular
TV station.
They're making 10 to 15, and that's just regular TV with commercial boxing. We're not even saying pay-per-view.
Yeah, we're not even saying that they have HBO contracts yet.
Yeah, this is legitimately, it's Friday night.
USA type. Yeah.
They're making 10 or 15 $million, maybe 20 at this point because of inflation and whatnot. But yeah, that's what they're making. And a UFC fighter comes in, they're the top of the range.
They're struggling to get paid. Now you'll have some that are making some money, but even their money is low compared to.
Well, no, like So Conor McGregor, I think he's at least he was last year the highest paid UFC fighter, and he made like, I think he's making like $15 million a fight or $10 million a fight, which again, he made more money fighting Floyd one time than he's made in his own fight style. And where they've even toyed with the idea of him going back into boxing just to make.
Oh yeah, it was. I think last week I heard him saying that he might.
He's gonna retire. He's got one guy in mind that he's gonna fight, and that's it. But again, he hasn't really won any fights since he's fought Floyd.
4 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But That's not the point of that. It's just saying that that's a big part of why I don't necessarily want to support it, because they also charge almost the same fucking prices to watch those fights, and I think that's the part that really gets me. Like, wait, they're still fighting in Vegas. They're still doing everything that boxing does, except for they're paying their fighters any money.
Yeah, they're not paying their fighters any money.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go ahead and go to the next piece. Serena Williams retiring.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if she's gonna play a couple more matches. I think that's what I heard. And then she's
I think she's gonna finish out
the season, right?
Yeah.
And you know what? I think she's one of the greatest, possibly the greatest women's tennis player.
Yeah.
That's ever been. I can't say that I watched all the tennis players from the 70s.
Right.
Even ones from the 90s. I watched a little bit of it, but I tell you this much, for me, I would much rather watch women play tennis than the men's. It just seems to be more entertaining. I don't know, so more emotion or whatever.
You know, in a lot of sports, like for instance in karate, when I would go to those tournaments, the girls fought harder than the guys did, and you don't necessarily expect that. You're thinking like, oh, they're girls, they're not gonna fight. But a lot of times, because there's that chip on their shoulder, they feel they have to.
They're trying to prove it to everybody.
Yeah, that they're just as good, if not better. And same thing in this case. Like, I'm sure these women that are playing tennis, they're trying to prove that they are the best, that they're probably better, or if not, just as good as the other.
I was annoyed last week when I heard Mad Dog, the guy that's been co-hosting with Stephen A.
Yeah.
Once a week or whatever on their show. He was talking about, oh no, these other women from this other era were better, and Serena only has this many wins because she didn't have to go up against them. And if you put her into that time, they're going to get some of those wins. Here's what he didn't calculate when he said this.
Okay.
When he started saying, yeah, she wouldn't have had 23 majors or whatever the fuck it was that he was saying, right?
Yeah.
Because they would have gotten some of those. Well, those same women would have lost some of those matches to Serena.
Right.
So they wouldn't have had their 16, 17, 22 that they had.
Right.
Because they would have lost some of them. So it would have balanced out. So the whole idea that, oh, so her numbers are only as high because she didn't have as high a competition. You also need to remember, Venus was freaking awesome.
Right.
And if it wasn't for Serena, Venus would be the one that we're all talking about.
So, you know what's... yeah, exactly. You know, the other thing is, I remember in the early 2000s, late 90s, there was another tennis player.
Maria Sharapova?
Well, there was her, but I was thinking of...
Anna Kournikova?
Yeah. Anna Kournikova.
Yeah, she was...
She was the thing that everyone was talking about. And once the Williams sisters came in, how many of y'all even remember her name, honestly, unless you're old?
Yeah, look, she didn't do anything. She didn't do anything. So,
and I don't know if
Sharapova got a few wins, but then she kind of disappeared too.
If you did you watch the Richard movie? Was it King Richard?
King Richard, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, in that movie they showed Anna crying because she lost to them. So, but
I don't remember that scene. But
I mean, it's a small scene. They were teenagers, and then whenever they met again later on, that's when they fucking did the whole waited to the very last second, causing a loss, and right before they went pro type shit. But again, we're talking. You can hate on it if you want to, but she's one of the greatest to ever do it.
I mean, I think anyone who denies it may just look. Everything that I see from Mad Dog, he is, and I know some of y'all don't like hearing this from me, but it is what it is. Dude just is racist, man.
Yeah.
And you got to remember, when I say racist, that doesn't mean that he wants to hang every black person.
Yeah.
There's different levels to racism, and I believe him to be racist based on what I hear him saying and how he separates, compartmentalized, and that's fine. And some of you say, no, that's not fine. No. What you're not understanding is there are people from different generations that grew up thinking this is okay, that is okay.
Right.
And because of that, it skews their thought process and what they find acceptable.
I will tell you, if you guys know me, I often talk about diet racism. And that would be the case of diet racism. When I tell people St. Louis is full of diet racists, that means that most of them don't necessarily want to cause you harm, but they want to say a lot of things that you would be offended by and you would deem as a racist comment. And they would say, oh, no, I'm not racist. My sister has black kids. So my nieces and nephews, so obviously I could never be racist. Or I have a friend that is black that I probably haven't talked to since high school, but he could come over if I knew where he was and he could wanted to. Like, that's what I mean. Or the Carlton line. You guys know, like, there's someone like, oh, he's not really black. He's Carlton black. And that's diet racism. If that's the way you look at a black person was like, no, they're not like real black. They're not Rick Ross black. They're Carlton black. That's diet racism. You're just trying to say that they're not as ignorant as one or another.
You're trying to classify them within there.
Yeah. But that's, again, the whole point is that, yeah.
So when I hear what Mad Dog says, I got to take it with a grain of salt. But at the same time, I end up dismissing so much of what he says because I know that it's his bias is that. Yeah. Now, you can say, well, you're clearly biased because, no, you're stupid. I understand this stuff.
You know why that's not true for us? Because a lot of the times, I don't even care about the subject or the sport. I'm just commenting on what it is.
Exactly.
And that's, honestly, I don't know if you guys know this, but, like, we can admit our biases on things, but we also, but even if we're being objective, we can look at it from the other side and say, like, I understand. The whole last episode, we were talking about these other quarterbacks. We were saying, this is why they're so good. This is why you would have them there. But if you wanted to switch another one there, I understand why you would say that too.
Yeah, we recognize.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I think the tennis world's gonna miss Serena.
I'm kind of curious to see what she does. Like, she does say that it's scary. It's all she's known is tennis, but she's ready to try some other things, and she wants to have another kid, and so she's got the money, she's got the time that she can afford to live that life that she wants to live. And
I wish her nothing but the best. I honestly, early on, I was much more of a Venus fan than her.
Right.
But over the years, she's shown, hey, she is the better of the two. And at tennis, I'm not gonna say as a person, I don't know them. But
you know them.
But you know what? I wish her the best. I think we were privileged to have grown up watching this this excellence.
We've actually, like, when you break down looking at some of the athletes and things like that, we've seen some really good athletes that never were expected. The Tiger Woods, the Venus Serena. Like, you could just, go on and on about people that kind of come over and took over. Like,
King Griffey Jr.'s, yeah.
Yeah. Even for what we hate about Floyd, like, Floyd has been a dominating force in boxing for so many years. In a sport where we often look at the Latin boxers as, like, they're usually the top tier, but he fucking had a run that we can't deny. Yep. Nobody was beating him,
So, let's go ahead and move on from that. One of the bigger topics this past week was Brony, LeBron's son, and a monster dunk that he had. Now, keep in mind this is high school,
right?
So that's what makes it impressive because, high school kid doing this, being that athletic,
right?
But Skip Bayless, one of your favorite experts, so to speak,
I wouldn't say
had
that,
some had some words. Can you expand on that?
So, it made the news. A lot of people were criticizing, and it trended on the line. So, if you guys haven't heard or know about it, Skip Bayless gets on there and he says something. Or what was it? He was on Twitter, right? Where he had tweeted that that was a nice dunk, but your dad would have done it left-handed or something along those lines. Which, when I heard it, I was like, okay, this is what Skip does. I don't understand. Other than the fact that obviously we're talking about a 17-year-old kid that's playing a high school game, which when I tune in and I see that they're watching some of these games, I don't really, I guess because it's not like football where they have to wait till they're 21 to get in the league, but still, I always think it's a little bit weird. But obviously, his dad is who his dad is, so that's why it makes it a little bit more interesting to see what he's going to do if he's going to go to the NBA or whatever. But that's not even why we're even talking about this, because obviously you can have your points of view on that. But the funny thing, and this is what I really like, because I didn't know that this happened, and you were the one that told me about it off air. But Jaylen Rose.
Yeah, so Jaylen Rose said he was on air commenting on this. He said, now, we got to get something straight. And I'm paraphrasing. He says, we got to get something straight. We cannot care what somebody who, in his senior year of high school, averaged 1.4 points a game has to say about Brony.
So, those of you that don't know, there is a history between Jaylen Rose and Skip Bayless. Many years ago, you can YouTube this and look it up if you don't know it. But Jaylen Rose goes on there and he hands Skip Bayless his ass.
This was on First Take, several years ago.
Yeah.
So Skip, Skip insults people, and he was going back and forth with Jaylen, like you said, several years ago, and he said something to Jaylen like, "What did you do in the league?" And Jaylen did his homework,
right?
Because Skip had said that he himself was really good point guard in high school and propped himself up really high.
Right.
And then Jaylen did his homework and he saw, wait a minute, your senior year, you didn't do anything. You scored 1.4 points a game and you weren't the starter. You weren't you barely got in. And Skip got really butthurt about it.
Watching it makes it even more epic because you see it in his face. He gets so flustered. And then he just shuts up.
Yeah, he's like, "You're right. That's what I did." And then the next time they got together, he's like, "But I need to give you a little backstory. I'd gotten hurt, and then this happened, and then this, and this is why."
Yeah.
But before that, I was good.
And I find this funny because I want to say in the last year or two, because I think it was right after Jaylen married Molly. He came out and said, I have to apologize for all that time ago. I went too far. And I remember I was thinking wasn't that
now that they're divorced.
Yeah, I thought it was funny. And Molly doesn't even talk to, not at least on air anymore because I think it's different networks. But I thought it was funny that he even apologized for it because, again, it had been years before that. And now that he's no longer with Molly.
But they're both still on ESPN.
Are they?
Yeah.
Okay. But nonetheless, the fact that he brings this up all these years later, again, was wait, I thought a bitch that got this woman said something. Wait a minute. That's fucking hilarious to me. How do you're going to talk about a 17-year-old kid and why are we talking about 17-year-olds? Let's talk about a 17-year-old kid who couldn't score nothing.
Yeah, that was just awesome. I loved it.
Yeah, so that's really why we brought it up. It's just the pettiness that Jaylen Rose has to be able to oh yeah, by the way.
Yeah, and you know what? It is what it is.
I mean, if you're going to talk shit, you have to be willing to back it. And I personally, I don't understand I don't get is it a joke? I don't understand if his dad would have done it left-handed or right-handed.
I think it was just him saying he's still not as good as his dad. I think that's what he was going.
And he shouldn't be. His dad's been playing professionally for the last...
No, it's what his dad was as a kid.
Okay.
Look, LeBron James, as a high schooler,
Yeah.
I think it was his junior year, he was getting a ton of publicity.
Okay.
And so, with that said, he got the nickname King James before he got into the league.
Right.
Some people say, well, he gave it to himself. No, it was just made sense for
Right.
that nickname. And he was the best high school player in the league. And at that time, they were still taking kids straight out of high school.
Right.
And games of his were getting sold out, and people were standing against the wall. I remember that time period.
Right.
And all that to say, you want to compare his son, who didn't have the disadvantages that
Yeah, I was
LeBron James have.
There's a difference when you're playing from privilege and you're playing for, like, I'm trying to get out of a situation.
Exactly.
Last week we talked about how these athletes, they all come from somewhere. LeBron was coming from a harder situation
Than his kids.
Yeah. Bronny's had nothing but the best his life versus LeBron, single parent household.
Yeah, so
like,
so the
struggling.
natural fight in them is gonna be different.
Right.
Now,
And you
that's
can go
not to say that they can't become better, whatever have you.
Not to say they can't even become good, because I mean we've seen other athletes that have
Kids
that go on and do well.
I mean, you saw Ken Griffey Jr. His father was a Major League Baseball player. You've
Right.
seen countless of them.
How many football players had dads that were in the league or whatever?
But
Or-
then you got a lot who, like Michael Irvin and some of the Dallas Cowboys, say, yeah, my kid, he didn't have that fight in him.
Yeah,
Because we gave him all the privileges that we didn't have.
Chavez
so
Jr.
That's why.
Chavez Jr. Like, he's a good fighter early in his career, but he doesn't have the discipline that his dad had. He doesn't have the
When you're fighting to live
yeah,
versus fighting to win,
right.
you have a different stopping point.
There's a reason why most of these players, again, come from these hard situations where they talk about, oh, yeah, there's a lot of drug dealing, gangbangers. My mom didn't have anything. She worked 11 jobs just to get me through college and high school and all of that. Like, and yeah, you're built off of your hardships. Like your heart, like what you can handle to go through is based on the hardships that you've encountered in life. Some people, they get them later on in life. Some of them get them early on in life, and that's where they're forged in steel and not. And yeah, so Bronny, he could still. I mean, Steph Curry's still
Yeah, Steph Curry's one of those examples.
Yeah.
His dad was a really good basketball player.
right.
But look, even if Steph, his first few years, he
Right.
was a nothing.
Right.
They almost traded him away because they didn't think they had anything with him.
Right.
Then he gets healthy, and he becomes one of the best shooters of all time.
Right.
So he had the privilege of growing up with a
Right.
professional NBA father, you know?
Yeah.
So Bronny, look, he's showing his athleticism.
Right.
He's good.
He's got
How
the-
good he'll be, that's yet to be determined. And,
And
you know
that's
what?
assuming that he wants to go. Like, he fuck around. Like, you know
No,
what?
I mean he's.
I mean, he probably will.
He's aiming for the pros. Like
but
everything.
But again, yeah.
But you know what they were saying is apparently his younger brother is like got that little brother syndrome that really wants to prove to everybody.
Yeah.
So his younger brother's actually probably going to be better, injuries permitting.
You know, who else?
real
Master
quick,
P's son.
real quick. Something we weren't talking about. The Manning boy.
Yeah.
He didn't win the starting job at UT.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
The kid who they had last year or whatever,
yeah.
he stuck around and he won the starting job.
Huh?
I
Yeah?
say that
Yeah.
because a buddy of mine, when the Manning kid went over there,
Yeah.
he's being an idiot. And
I remember, like,
Yeah.
you bringing this up, it's starting to get the hamster on the wheel. Go ahead.
so he was talking trash about, so now UT's it. I'm like, no, they're not. Like I'm
Right.
saying, they're still going to suck. And he wanted to bet me, so we bet a steak dinner or whatever.
I remember that now.
That that UT's not going to win 10 games. Like I said that they're not going to. He said that they are.
Yeah.
Well, now they don't have his quarterback that he thought was going to take them to.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's funny.
Just back on the thing about basketball. Yeah. No, I was just gonna say Master P similar. He's got 2 sons, very into basketball. He was a very big advocate for the college athletes to get to make money for their likeness and all that. And one of them obviously slating to get to the NBA before the other. And they both are very competitive in the sense that they're always like pushing each other, trying to see. So Master P, not only was he a rapper, he also played professionally. He claims that he beat Jordan on a one-on-one. No one has any footage of it, so all it is just his word, and Jordan never disputing that argument.
But Jordan's never going to come out and say that he did if he did.
Never said that he didn't do it either, though.
No, but he wouldn't admit to it.
Yeah. I mean, he could deny that wasn't even a real thing. The story that was told, if no one knows, is Romeo went to Jordan's camp for basketball, and he went in there with his Percy Miller shoes on, and Jordan was like, "You're going to come to my camp wearing your shoes," and he was mad. And so Master P showed up, was like, "Wait, so you're going to not let him wear, like, why?" And so they was like, "All right, well, let's play a one-on-one game, and let's see if whoever wins, then he can wear whatever shoes or whatever." And so he supposedly won him on a one-on-one.
Beat him on a one-on-one.
Yeah.
Sweet. I hadn't heard that story.
I always thought it was just kind of funny because also now hearing that they say how much of a gambler Jordan was, I could almost believe, like, oh, shit, that must be a real story because they said he used to make stupid bets.
I could see that, and especially if it was like a game to 2 or 3, something small.
Yeah.
Because obviously, the more points, then
right.
eventually,
Yeah,
I don't care how fucking old he is.
Yeah.
Eventually, he's going to.
But again, they were playing at the same time anyway, so it wasn't.
No, Master P was never on a team. I think Charlotte let him try out for him, and he was in the summer camp or something.
Yeah.
But, no, what was it?
Well, he says that's why.
There was this one game I played somebody to 1. He was way better than me. Mm-hmm. I beat him. But it was a game to 1. I talked shit to him for like 4 years because of it.
Yeah.
We both knew.
But yeah. No, actually just, again, on that subject, it's similar but not. Someone was in an interview. They were talking about rappers who had kids that went on to do the same thing and were never as successful. And this should probably go on the Sleep Talking podcast, but I just want to bring it up just because they said nobody ever had a successful career as their dad, and when they started rapping. I sat there and thought about it, and they kind of just blew off Romeo. I was like, Romeo had just a successful career as a rapper. He switched over to acting sooner than anything because the money was different. But that could be same in any of these sports. Like whenever you have a son that's going to be an athlete and they change their mind. Even acting, what's his name? John David Washington is Denzel's son, and he took a long time. He played football before he did that. He played for the Rams. So, the kids are going to live their life. They're going to, their point of privilege is going to be different. They're going to prove themselves however they choose to. All
right, so let's go ahead and talk a little bit running backs. Before we sign off. Zeke Elliott, him and Pollard are slated to share the load this year for the Dallas Cowboys.
What? Really?
And how do you think it's gonna pan out?
Same as it was last year. Like I don't know what do you mean? Like
no, we had talked about this off the air. You dumb? Yeah, I called you dumb.
I mean,
remember you were saying early on in the year.
Oh yeah.
See,
but I thought we talked about that on the last episode. But nonetheless, it doesn't matter. We're gonna
stupid.
Well, we're
He's
gonna
see. Stupid.
We're gonna see this season early on because again we've mentioned Cowboys players, they're hurt. Not everyone's out. Rookies,
available, you mean?
Yeah, available. Rookies even they're questionable. So don't be surprised to see this ball get run a lot between the both of them early on. By end of September, probably going into probably more.
Yeah, probably at the end of September, early October.
Yeah, you're going to see that the workload switch. You'll start seeing them as these players are starting to come back. They're going to start throwing the ball a little bit more. And then we're going to hear the talks of how Elliott is no longer producing like he was on the first week or the second week. He had such a breakout game, and then in week 4 and 5, he's just, he had 75 yards. Now he's down to 55 yards or whatever. It probably won't even be that dramatic, but.
And they're not going to mention the fact that he had 5 fewer carries, 6
right.
fewer carries, whatever have you.
Again, we kind of mentioned it a couple episodes ago. The thing is that as I say before, like they always want to say Zeke is not the Zeke of old. And I can tell you, I've watched this game change. Like I've watched him go from just punching it down the to his spots that he was shooting to, like, oh, he kind of slowed down so he could pick his holes. Now they're starting to pass the ball. Like all that's over the progress of like 3 or 4 seasons that you can watch the growth of this team, but yet they always talk about in season 1 and season 2 he was just doing so much more. The team was different, the coach was different. There's so many things that factored into how they were scheming and how they were doing the game, and you still want to talk about of old. And then they want to say, well, and Pollard, he had, what was last year? He had like a 20-yard run, which was amazing. They were so excited about how you see that he's got wheels.
They ignored the 6 other runs before that where he got 0, -2, 0, -2.
Yeah, the wheels. When he opens up them wheels, he's gonna run down the field and get those 20 yards. But that was, I think, the only time he got that kind of a run all season. Then got hurt. And then they were like, well, if he stayed healthy, he would have probably passed Zeke in the yards, because you seen when he opened up the wheels and he got the 20-yard run. And, I personally, I defend Zeke when it comes to this running back spot really hard, one being that he's from St. Louis, and 2, the ignorance of saying, oh, he's just not as good as he used to be, when he's not showing any reason not to be. It's not like...
So through 2 years, Zeke had 26-14. Okay?
Okay.
Through 4 years, he had 54-05.
Okay.
Through 5 years, he had 63-84.
Right.
Through 6 years, 73-86.
Right.
I mean...
Yeah. I mean... Again, what are you grading on? Uniform? Who's like...
And the first 2 of the first 3 seasons, he had rushing titles, right?
Right.
Okay. And during those 3 years, why are you running him so much?
Right.
Stop giving him the ball so much. That's what they kept saying. So they stopped giving him the ball so much.
Right.
Still putting up 1,000 yards.
Right.
Still scoring touchdowns.
And again, at that point,
still has more rushing yards from this point versus anybody else.
Watch every single game from season 1. And you will see he's punching. He's running through players.
He didn't know how to not just go.
Right.
But also, during his first 3 seasons when he was getting the most praise, he got the ball in certain places that they went away from because you changed offensive coordinators, and they stopped giving him the ball in the same locations where he was getting the biggest runs from.
Right.
So when you switch that, he's not going to have the same success.
Right. And then they even started incorporating the fact that, like, hey, let's throw him the ball from time to time. So all those things factor. And, like, at the end of the day, as we were saying last episode as well, is the team is still winning. Like, they're not necessarily going to the playoffs or winning Super Bowls, but the season overall, they're still pulling off winning seasons. And that makes a difference in what you're grading it to. Did they win, though? Did they, it's a team sport. Like, you can't put it all on one player all the time. Sometimes you can, but...
All right. So, Nick Chubb, one of the better running backs in the league, right?
Yeah.
So, through 2 seasons, he had 2490, which was a little bit less than Zeke through 2, right?
Yeah.
And remember, Zeke was suspended 6 games in his second season,
Okay.
so he wasn't allowed to run.
Right. Well,
And with Nick Chubb, it was injuries here and there. Now, through 4 seasons,
yeah.
Zeke 5405, right?
Okay.
Nick Chubb 4816,
Yeah.
600 yards behind him.
Right.
Okay. Now, Christian McCaffrey, okay? Through 5 seasons, Christian McCaffrey,
Okay.
3587. Through 5 seasons,
Okay.
okay? Now, Zeke, in 3 years,
Yeah.
had 4,048.
Right. But
In three-
okay, but we're talking about Christian McCaffrey, but what about Derrick Henry?
Derrick Henry.
Yeah, because
All right.
that's who they're gonna say. Because
Okay. Let's talk about it. They came in at the same time. Through 5 years, Derrick Henry, 5860.
okay.
Zeke, 6384.
But he
Okay.
if he never got hurt though, if he never got hurt,
So let's look at this thing right here. So through total combined yards,
Yeah.
right? Zeke, 9630.
okay,
Okay, that's rushing and receiving.
yeah,
And that same running back you just said, Derrick Henry,
yeah,
through those, he has almost 2,000 fewer, 7,643.
okay,
Almost 2,000 fewer combined total yards.
and
When you look at Zeke versus McCaffrey,
yeah,
because what they say about McCaffrey is why he's so much better than Zeke. McCaffrey has 3,015 receiving yards in his career.
okay,
Zeke has 2,244.
okay,
But McCaffrey's so much better because of that,
yeah,
is what they say. Now, Alvin Kamara,
okay,
okay? He's got 1,000 more rush or receiving yards than Zeke in his
Okay.
career. Still, over 2,000 fewer total yards.
yeah,
Okay? 1 season difference. I'm just saying.
yeah,
Zeke is still the best running back from the group that came in from 2016 through now.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to say last year, obviously, Jonathan Taylor was the best.
Yeah.
Look, he had 1,800 yards.
yeah,
I'm not going to tell you that he didn't have a better season.
yeah,
I'm not. I mean, he had 1,800 yards.
Right.
I'm saying if Zeke gets the same amount of carries,
yeah.
because he had 95 fewer freaking carries than him.
Listen, that's a big fucking number. Like,
Yes.
that's 100 snaps. It's almost
Exactly. So he had 100 fewer freaking carries,
Right.
essentially, than Jonathan Taylor.
yeah.
You give him those 100 carries, those numbers are going to look a lot closer.
Was that Taylor's first year?
Second.
Second year.
Yeah.
So back to one of the arguments that I also make whenever they want to talk about Pollard and Elliott
Yeah.
is you scheme to stop Elliott.
Zeke. Yeah.
You don't scheme to stop Pollard. And you don't know that. Like I always say, like your first 2 seasons when you're actually playing, you stand to actually do a lot in those first 2 seasons. And the reason for that is you don't have very much game footage on that. You maybe have a season at most, and even then you probably half of a season. You probably don't really always come in and have a full workload of a season to do for them to. Like you're learning on the job. They're starting to figure out, oh shit, every time they go to the right, they're using this guy, or every time they're getting
Yeah,
collapsed
he likes
over.
it in this spot, whatever.
Yeah. You know, that's when your analysts come in, they start looking at it and seeing it, and that's where they start saying like, okay, you got to watch out for this. If they're on their 4th and 1, they're gonna probably punch it with this guy or that guy. So, yeah, you can't like. Let's see where Taylor is in 4 years if he can still be matched up in the same.
In the same league.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I'm not trashing any of these running backs.
No, yeah.
So
Much
I
respect
don't want
to them for
anybody
being
to
good.
think that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying the demise of Ezekiel Elliott has been way premature.
Very much so.
The talk of his demise has been
I extremely. That's what I think.
overstated.
I think that's the part that really bothers me is like it'd be different if at this time, and I'm gonna knock on wood that he doesn't this season get an injury.
Look,
But it'd be different if he was taking these injuries because I will tell you, I am 100% one of those people. Like, yeah, they're good if they can stay healthy. Adrian Peterson is one of those players that I say, like, yeah, he's still decent. He can still run the ball here and there. But the
not
problem
last
is,
year. He's done now. But yeah,
well,
before that.
yeah. Well, the last few seasons, I was like, but he doesn't stay healthy long enough. He doesn't, he can't stay healthy to actually produce what he think like he could if he was healthy or whatever. Yeah, we have those players that we watched. Christian McCaffrey is starting to be one of those players. Like, yeah, he can't stay healthy. Quarterback wise, that's what we say about Wentz. Like Wentz can't finish a season.
I mean, hell, Stafford too. I mean, you say that about a lot of guys, and that's why when you do have somebody like Ezekiel Elliott, who even through injury like last year,
right,
is producing good numbers.
Yeah.
When you have somebody like that, for me, is just bad form for people to say, "Oh, he's done." Where, shit, I wish that I could be done and do what he does.
Yeah.
You know,
there's even with that, like you can look at the progress that he's still doing or whatever, and he's still doing too well for me to say that he is done at this moment.
And he's definitely not done. I can see 5 more years out of him. I'm not going to say with the Cowboys because it looks like the Cowboys want to move on.
Yeah.
But if you told me he was going to be producing 1,200 yards roughly for 5 more years, meaning some years will be 1,000, some years 1,400.
Yeah.
I'm going to say I'd put my money on that. So long as a team continues to give him the opportunity. I say that because, in the 90s, it was like, hey, we're going to run you till you're dead.
Yeah.
And now it's, but we can probably get someone cheaper, so we're not going to give you the ball because we're looking for someone cheaper.
Definitely.
And so some careers end because of that.
I will say this right now. If they move on from him.
You want him in Kansas City.
I would love him in Kansas City.
I think it'd be perfect. He goes back to his home state.
Yeah.
And he gets the opportunity to work where they don't need him.
Right.
But my God, what he could do for them.
Yeah. I was actually going to say Arizona, but Arizona is the team that I say that's where players go to have a really good final run.
Yeah.
And that's just going off of a lot of players in the last.
Oh yeah, you'll play there for 2 years, but you're done.
You'll actually show a nice It's not the same as like the Belichick, like when you go over there and potentially win a Super Bowl, but you're gonna get a good run, and people are gonna be watching like, he's still really good and producing really well over there.
He could go to New England.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a handful of places that like where they allow their coaches to do what coaches do, and they could actually perform well.
The big thing with Zeke is physically he's still top of his game.
Yeah.
And people want to write him off because every other running back isn't there. But dude, 7 running backs got 1,000 yards last year. He was one of them.
Right.
He did that while injured and while getting fewer carries than all of those guys above him but one. Only one guy above him had fewer carries. So when you want to talk to me, and obviously I'm not talking about you, but when you want to talk to me about him being done, get out of here with that mess.
Yeah, there's just we see athletes, and you can like if you are paying attention to these sports, you can see like they're just not something's not clicking. They're just not as good. They're not staying as healthy. Whatever the case is,
saw that with Gurley.
Yeah,
you've seen that with countless running backs.
Yeah, you
haven't seen that with Zeke. If you say that you have seen that with Zeke, you're trying to find that in there. Yeah, but it's just not true.
Yeah, that is a fact because like. Even when we were talking about Chubb, like Chubb was really good for a few seasons, and I think we're starting.
Chubb's 4 seasons in.
Yeah, but he's still I'm starting to see a little bit wear on it. Is what I'm trying to get to.
Yeah. That's the thing. I don't know. I think Chubb still got 2 more seasons, but he don't look like the kind of running back to me. You know what he kind of looks like? Brandon Jacobs. You remember New York Giants running back that was good? I think he even came to Cowboys for a couple of years, whatever, as a backup. But he's the kind of big running back who can do good for a very short period of time.
Yeah.
That 5 years,
Yeah.
6 years.
Yeah.
But he's going to be done after
Yeah.
that. I think that's Nick Chubb. I
Right.
think Chubb is, man, you get him that first contract,
Yeah.
you're going to have a great running back.
Right.
But that's not the running back
Yeah.
that you pay for that second contract.
Right.
The running back that you pay for that second contract is
Yeah.
a Marshall Faulk.
Right.
Is someone who's a little bit leaner,
Yeah.
a little bit better ankle breaker.
Yeah.
You know?
And the other
And
thing
Nick Chubb, impressive.
The-
Power.
The other thing to Elliott too is the way the league is now. Not many teams run with the true bell cow running back anymore.
Yeah.
And so you're gonna have another backup that honestly 6 years doesn't seem like it's unreasonable as long as he's still doing.
Yeah, for another 5-6 years.
Yeah.
If he transitions to first 2 downs or something like that.
If it was still the days of where we were talking about the bell cows, I'd probably cap him at 10 years, maybe 11.
Well, yeah, but that's all-time great running backs.
Yeah.
That's
But
what they
yeah.
get.
But that's what I'm saying.
That's what
Yeah.
I'm saying about
Yeah.
him.
Yeah.
He is that unique running back that will get you that decade's worth of
Right.
above average to great
Yeah.
play.
Yeah, because in year 6, by this time you're starting to see those wear and tears on most
running backs.
Yeah,
You're not seeing it from Zeke.
yeah, definitely.
You have the media calling for it,
yeah.
but you're not seeing it from him.
Maybe that little bit of injury you see it, but yeah. Anyways, we're gonna end it on there. It's been a great night of sports talk with us. Again, one of these episodes is a bonus episode, whether this one or the last one. But this is episode 3
For this season, for this 2022 season.
Preseason, yeah. With that being said, let's go ahead and if you want to follow Coach Rudy at
On Twitter at RudyV1982.
you can follow me on TikTok, Instagram, whatever else I have at SleepyJSLEEP_E_J. You want to argue with someone, argue with your mama, not us, because we're talking real facts on what we're talking about. Until next time, take it easy.
Peace.